Okay, a thought for the day from Nick Randall.
Thank you, Joe. I have a thought this morning that I think is one for us all to ponder, and it comes from the lyrics of a songwriter named Sean Rowe. Say that I know you're right, but you can't lie to me with these books that you sell. I'm not trying to follow you to the end of the world. I'm just trying to leave something behind. It's to come from nothing else. I heard the wrong crap. When the water is gone, my job will be too. So I'm trying to leave something behind. It's free of the love comes, and the ceiling is hard to reach. But the future ahead is broken and red, and I'm trying to leave something behind. Finally, we swallow the moon, but we do not know our own end. Oh, we're running with the case, but we got the gold. Yet we're trying to leave something behind. My friends, I believe we are at the wrong fight, and I cannot read what I did not write. I've been to his house, but the master is gone. Yet we're trying to leave something behind. Now there's a beast that has taken my brain. You can put me in bed, but you can't feel my pain. When the machine has taken the soul from the man, it's time to leave something behind. Oh, money is free, but love costs more than our bread.
All right, Nick. I didn't tell you to read a book.
Oh, the future ahead is already dead, but it's time to leave something behind. This feeling that I'm stuck at a shore and I don't know what it means to be bored. I can go through the wall, you can give me a door, so I can leave something behind. Or wisdom is lost in the tree somewhere, or you're not gonna find it in some mental gray hair. It's locked up from those who hurry ahead, and it's time to leave something behind. Or the room is free, but love costs more than our bread, and the ceiling is hard to reach. For my sense of man, he'll know what I meant. I was just trying to leave something behind.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so very much. Wonderful. Okay, and of our reader, Mr. Governor Jennifer Strong. Wonderful. Thank you. And well, Terry's not running the mic.
He's in Boise, Idaho.
Oh, that didn't work too well then.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Elaine.
Okay, and our Grappling newsletter, of course, is Scott Hensley. And our setup and takedown. Thank you, Michael and Bob and Nick. And stay a little after to help clean up when you're done, please. Thank you, everyone. And welcome to our guests and visitors. Kathy.
I'd like to introduce
That's Sheldon Sunrise. Nice to be here.
and Catherine Graham, former Sunriser, and its president. What's the matter? And we have an assistant governor from a new club, Dan Russ.
Morning, area governor. Okay. Yeah, I saw that for once ago this summer.
Okay, thank you. And. Yeah. Oh, are we going to do that at the time of speaking? Okay, yeah, we'll wait on that one. But, and of course, we have our student, Sarah. So good to see you again, Sarah. All right, okay, trying to mute all. Looks like we started our recording, so great. And let's see, Bill Sauber, well, he's recovering from a hip operation and he's doing very well. He was here 8 years, of course, he went away and was, where was he? He was in North Carolina, yeah, and active there and then back here again. So he's been a Rotarian for well over 20 years. And John Gretsch and Christine, hope they're having a good time in Poland. And here we are, David and Barbara at the Festival of Brotherhood. I'm really looking forward when David gets back with all the goodies we can help with down in Mexico. We also have a homecoming. Sarah, you are gorgeous. Look at you. I'm so happy.
Thank you. Yeah, this is me, my host sister. Yeah, my first homecoming ever. That was really exciting. There's about 15 people at my house and got ready together and then we left for the homecoming, which was fun. A lot of dancing. The DJ wasn't the best, but it was fun. Either way. But yeah, I had a great time. It was really fun.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Okay, oh, and we have our Monday morning hikers again. We had the Rotary bartenders from our Big Lobster feed.
Remember our old picture caption contest that we used to do? Linda? So you guys get to fill in the sentence. 3 Rotarian bartenders walking the woods.
Okay, and do we have any announcements today? Okay, thank you. And coming up,
I have a quick announcement. We're gonna have a wrap up for the lobster feed next Wednesday, not today, but next Wednesday, 5:30 at Kathy's office.
okay, thank you. Good. And we also have Wednesday, the 26th is going to be volunteer at the Redwood Empire Food Bank. And we have our first Friday, we have to be announced. We'll get to that. And then the community service Zoom meeting on the November 7th. And then the international on the 14th. And high school road cleanup we'll be doing on the 19th. And the time is to be announced. Yeah,
There's one more that what didn't make it on the list because it's a late announcement. The help people effort that we do with the Sebastopol Service in Action Coalition.
yeah.
They're going to do a cleanup of a property on Neva Street this Saturday from 10 to 2. And so bring the gloves and gardening gear and they're going to get dumpster and going to help somebody fill that out. So you meet on Neva Street and I'll send out it's 295 Neva Street, not. So you're there, you're about to miss
I
it.
was going to say that, so I thought, well, I'll just hand it off to you. Thank you very much.
So we are working with, Riley's and Kiwanis and other folks. The neighbors are actually organized this.
Good, thank you very. Okay, next week we have Patrick Nagal, board president, West County Schools. And next, Dan, you're on.
Thank you, good to be here.
gives me great pleasure to introduce our district governor, Jennifer Strong. Jennifer began her Lakeport Rotary career in early 1987 as a senior at Clear Lake High School. She was selected by the Rotary Club of Lakeport to represent the high school at their weekly club meetings as the first female student Rotarian. During a time when women were not quite as numbers, as many of you, and some of you probably remember. Fast forward to 1998, when she returned to Lakeport as a full-fledged member of the Rotary Club of Lakeport. She was a two-time past president with her most recent service in 2015-2016. During the Valley Fire in Lake County. That was the year that Valley Fire in Lake County. So she was a founding member of the Lake Area Rotary Fire Relief Fund with a simple idea. Maybe just maybe we could raise $50,000 to help our community. Raised over $1 billion in 2015 for the residents of Lake County. Fire. Disaster relief during wildfires of 2017. She was recognized in 2016 as the District 5130 Rotarian leader. So the Greens is a District 5130 branch chair, participated as a youth exchange club counselor and a host parent, and is now our district governor. Jennifer is a certified financial planner and owns and operates strong financial network in Lakeport, serving nearly 2,000 clients throughout 22 states. She resides on her sixth generation farm in Lake County and enjoys gardening, preserving food, scuba diving, travel. In addition to countless hours spent on community service throughout Rotary and her industry and Lake County. And she recently obtained what type of license? Now, please welcome our district governor, Jennifer Strong.
Yeah, the trick question in there, right? It's great to be here. It's so good, wonderful to be here. Have a seat. No, sit. Okay, so welcome everyone on Zoom. It's great to see you all. David, you're having a great time in Mexico. I see. Thank you for the work that you're doing down there. You're still there, right? You're still Festival Rugby. Anyway, it's really wonderful to be here with all of you. And thank you for taking the time out this morning. And thank you for coming. And it's always kind of a crapshoot, right? You never know what that district governor meeting is going to be. So I want to thank you, Dan, for being here. Before we get started on the program, though, this is one of the best parts of being district governor is every now and then you get to bring a new member into the Rotary family. And so I'm honored to be able to do that with you today. So I have something that I'm going to read here. So today we are honored to induct Mary McClary into the Rotary Club of Sebastopol Sunrise. Mary, can you please join me up here in front, please? Come on up. Have a seat on the hot seat right here. All right, I'm gonna share a little bit with you about Mary because I think it's important for us to know a little bit of her story. So thank you, Mary, for being here. She was born in Los Angeles. When she was 5, she lived in Klamath Falls, Oregon. That's a little bit of a reach between LA and Klamath Falls, Oregon. So that must have been a little bit of a culture shock. By 5th grade, Mary was enrolled in Catholic school through high school where she graduated. It was small classes and good memories. Mary obtained her Bachelor of Arts in Environmental Studies from Cal State San Jose, class of 1968. And during her career, she had various administrative positions. For instance, approximately 10 years, she worked for the County of Sonoma, and with nearly 8 of those working in the children with the children of the Valley of the Moon. She's lived in Sonoma County since the 80s and has been retired for approximately the last 10 years, but has definitely not just been sitting around. So through the Peace Theological Seminary, Mary has been studying spiritual science, receiving a master's degree, and is just about completed with her doctorate in spiritual science. Mary is dedicated to community service, and Rotary means to Mary a way to volunteer and give back to our community. Time is the one commodity that once it's spent, it can never be regained. Today, Mary, you are choosing to give of your time, your treasure, and your talent. There are moments in life that are life-altering. I believe that joining Rotary is one of those moments. So often we go through life focused on career and our family, but at some point we realize that we want to give back to society, to our community. Mary, you have been chosen to be a part of the Sebastopol Sunrise family because your fellow members believe you to be a leader in your community, and we will rely upon you to both embody and convey the principles and ideals of service. We welcome you not only for the fellowship, which we will all share, but for the lives that you will help change in making your community and world a better place. Service above self is our Rotary motto, but I challenge you today to find those moments where you will grow as a person, and at times remind us to grow as well. We look forward to your inspiration and helping us continue to become better Rotarians, and in return, we welcome you and commit to helping you grow in your leadership. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And maybe most importantly, will it be fun? While we can make you a member of Rotary, we cannot make you a Rotarian in the true sense of the word. That distinction is something that you must find for yourself. But our wish and our challenge to you is to find those moments when you truly embrace the power that is being a Rotarian. Today, you join Rotary. Thank you for taking that first step. But now you embark on a journey that will be life-changing in ways that you cannot even imagine. So with the presentation of this Rotary pin and all of the wonderful stuff that comes from your club, and with the support of each one of your fellow members, Mary, we now welcome you to the Rotary Club of Sebastopol Sunrise family. Okay, so that was the Imagine Rotary pin. You also have a certificate of membership that you get to post very proudly in your office. You also get your very cool Sebastopol Sunrise Mary McClary badge, as well as all of the other good information that comes along with being a Rotarian. So that is for you. And then there's one last thing that we have to do because you're not right there. You're not truly a Rotarian until you have survived your very first Rotary selfie. All right, got this? Okay, so now what we're gonna do is you need to come here. Come over here and stand next to me. Okay, now all of you go stand up again. Now this is your part of the job. You need to push a little bit, and you need to look like you are so ecstatically happy that Mary is now a Sebastopol Sunrise Rotarian. Okay, so here we go. Congratulations and welcome. And here is your stuff. And let's give Mary a round of applause. That was all yours. We're so glad you're here, Mary. Thank you. And I know that your club is going to be very much looking forward to having you give a talk here very soon on all of the wonderful stuff that you're doing. So thank you for being here. All right, so that is really, truly one of the coolest things that you get to do as district governor is bringing in a new member. So Dan was here recently, about a month or two ago, and gave the official Imagine Rotary program, right? So he was talking about Jennifer Jones being the first female president of Rotary International. He talked about some of the cool stuff that we're trying to make available from the district level to help move on your club activities here. He talked a little bit about some of the events that are coming up, district conference, like the foundation events we had. So that's typically kind of what a district governor would do, right? So where does that leave me? Where does that leave me and why am I here? So time, you heard me say during that induction, time is the one commodity that once you spend it, you can't get it back, no matter how hard you try. I respect the concept of time. And when I think about being in Rotary, and when I think about why you all are here right now, the question is why? Now, you know a little bit about me from that introduction. You know a little bit maybe more about me than you knew 10 minutes ago. And you knew when I joined Rotary, You don't really know why yet, but the most important part is you don't know why I'm here today. You don't know why I stayed. So I'm going to say something right now that I'm pretty sure is going to get me kicked out of being district governor. And I've actually said it to Jennifer Jones, and she kind of looked at me funny, and then I think maybe there was a little twinge of agreement in there. The Rotary International motto is service above self. I think it's wrong. I think it's completely wrong, and I think it needs to be changed. It's a big statement to make, right? I think that the motto should be service feeds self, not above it. It should be feeding it, because the bottom line is that if we're not getting something out of this, if we are not getting something that feeds our soul from our time that we're spending here and the time that we're spending in Rotary, if it's not feeding our soul, we're going to find something else to do with our time. That's just the bottom line. Every single club around the world has at least one person in Rotary that's thinking about leaving at any given moment. The question is why? Why are they thinking about leaving? And the question is why are you staying? It comes down to what is feeding our soul and what are we getting out of this? Now, I contend that the story is where that all starts. The story is in the why. Now, I've asked for a couple of volunteers from your club to come and join me. Now, at this moment, they know a little bit more about my story than I know about theirs. So Linda and Dan, where's Dan? Dan's right there. Okay, Linda and Dan, come on up here and join me. And I think there's another microphone floating around here somewhere. Where did it go? Ah, there we go. All right. So Linda, give Linda and Dan a round of applause for coming up here with me today. All right. This is never easy because they have no idea what they're doing up here with me. Right? It's sort of like all of you that were trusting me enough to stick your hand down into a black jar from a perfect stranger and then have to go sit with maybe a different spot than the people that you don't normally sit with. So thank you for doing this with me. So the first question I have for you is a very simple one, and that I'd like each of you to answer, is tell me when you joined Rotary and why you joined. Linda, go ahead and start with you.
Well, first, I'd like to recognize that my sponsor is visiting today. Catherine Graham sponsored me in 2004, and you're a sight for sore eyes. We're so glad you're here. Lucky us. And congratulations, Mary. It's put your seatbelt on. It's going to be fun. This is a fun club, and we work hard at it. The reason I joined Rotary, I think I learned my first service from Catholic education, and I raised 4 boys, and I got burned out and took the time out from it. When I was striping the football field, I said, I'm done. I'm just tired. And then I saw all my friends from the Super Playground days still getting recognized, Citizen of the Year, and my sponsor, Catherine, I was on the periphery. I came to a lot of events, and I went into her office and said, okay, I'm ready. I was ready to get back in and make a difference.
What year was that?
2004.
Okay, so 2004, you joined because you had kind of some stuff going on in your life, and it was time to do something different, and you saw other people out there doing the work of Rotary. Is that kind of what was going on there?
It wasn't the work of Rotary so much as my first service project was building the Super Playground, which many of the people here know. It was like a barn raising. It brought the whole city together, and it was magical. And when I took my time out, that was fine. It's what I needed. But then I saw all those Super Playground friends still out doing good. And I said, okay, it's time to get back in the game.
You wanted to be a part of something.
I did.
Okay, so 2004, you joined because you wanted to be a part of something. All right, Dan, what about you? What year and why?
1997, I was one of the charter members.
Okay.
And the Rotary Club of Sebastopol was started, the new Sunrise Morning Club. And they came and presented this concept to the Sebastopol Optics Club. Another service club motto was Friend of Youth. Myself, Jim Gilliam, Martin Webb, Gus Ahmed, we're all in that club. I was on there for 17 years. Our membership was down a bit, and we said, boy, it doesn't really make much sense to us to compete for morning-oriented, service-minded people. Let's go help them start this other chapter of a stronger international organization. I was very excited to do that.
Okay, and that was 1997, right? Okay, so kind of two different reasons, but similar. You saw Rotary as a strong international organization that you could kind of get in there and really make sure that that time that you were spending was giving you the most bang for your buck on that. Okay, that's a good one. So I joined in 1998, which you heard. I was 27, and I had just moved back to where I grew up with my 1-year-old baby and the diaper bag and the clothes on my back, kind of a deal. And I was starting my financial planning firm. And I remembered from my days in high school of being a student Rotarian that all the movers and shakers were in Rotary. And I knew that as I was starting my financial planning business, that was the people that I needed to be around. Now I knew they did some good work, and I knew that they were fun. They were a little older than me, but they were the ones I needed to be around. So I joined for business purposes. And I'm sure that there are those of you in the room that did that originally, right? Nothing wrong with that. Question is why did I stay after all those years? So, and I'm going to share my story of why. We talked about that a little bit last night at your leadership meeting, and kind of those moments of when we were thinking maybe we needed to go do something different, but yet we stayed in Rotary. So my question to you, is there a particular moment or time? Now, I know that in that tenure of Rotary, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of these moments and a lot of these particular times. But is there one in particular that you can think about where you realized, there's something to be in this Rotarian thing? As John Lamont told me one time, when it goes from your head to your heart, and you realize why. Like, you just got your superhero cape strapped on today. When you join Rotary, we all get a superhero cape. Sometimes it takes us a little while to figure out the power that comes with that cape, the things that we can do with it. But is there a particular time or a story or a moment that you can tell me about where you really knew why?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming, but we adopted families at Christmas time, and I had a family full of girls to buy Christmas presents for. I only knew about boys. And so while I was shopping, there was this young family, 2 girls and a mom. And I said, "Oh, girls, how old are you?" "Oh, perfect. Would you please help me? What do girls your age like?" And they were up and down the aisles with me. We were picking out the toys and got to the checkout, and the mom took me aside and she said, "I just want you to know what you're doing makes a difference. We're living in a shelter right now." I had no idea. And it just, it was very emotional, and it touched my heart that yes, the concept we do good, but we really do. We make a difference. And that's when it solidified for me.
You kind of realize that. And when you think about that moment with those little kids, what you were doing it wasn't about the stuff that you were picking out, right? It wasn't about the stuff that you were buying. It was about giving them a moment to be able to just go be kids, right? And be able to connect with somebody on purely a human level. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Dan, what about you? Is there kind of a particular moment where you knew why?
No, that's not a fair question. I've been worried about 25 years each, and been on the board. I've been invited to be on the board a lot of that. And so got about 90,000 just in meeting Rotary moments. But so there's some more recent ones, let's say.
Pick one. Pick one that when you're near to here.
During the pandemic, we didn't do our big community holiday meal for the community and everybody who didn't have a place, but we handed out food boxes. So everybody who could come by and get with chicken or turkey and all the fixings for a holiday meal. And we had coats for people, and we had bags of toys and things for kids. And we were able to hand out this box of food that was going to feed people. And one of the little girls said, "And I get a bicycle," and squealed and got out to get on that bicycle. Yeah.
It kind of hit you, huh?
That's, one of the many. Yeah, but luckily I had a chance down to at least 100,000.
Mm-hmm. What's in your hand?
Because it's not a fair question. I brought the cheat sheets for it. Every year, there's a Rotary week, there's all kinds of different things.
So tell me about hosting a GSE team from Russia.
Well, yeah, we did that. I was on the GSE team selection committee for a while.
Yeah.
And those big people to go as well as to come. Really interesting to see how other kids visit another country and get to know them. And this was one of the wilder groups we hosted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you think about that, especially when you think about that in today's times, you know, we've got our young lady here, Sarah, right? From Denmark, the best ambassadors in the world, I think, come from Rotary. Would you not agree? It's ways that we can connect that change people's lives, right? So the question that I have for you guys is, well, actually, before I ask the question, I'm going to share with you a quick little story because mine involved a little girl as well. This is the first time actually that all three stories that I've had involved a little girl, and two of them involved a bicycle. So you know a little bit about my story there in 2015-16. What you don't know was that was the second time I was president of my club. I've been president twice. A president-elect, a combined total of less than 6 months. So I'm that person that comes in when the president-elect drops out right before they're supposed to take over and nobody else will do it. So when they said you have to prepare for being district governor 3 years, I'm like, are you kidding me? So, but yeah, I was president in 2015-16. I wasn't supposed to be, but apparently I was. So a little fire broke out in September, which you heard. Dan told you a little bit about that. And the idea of the fire relief fund. And that was magical, right? It was magical because what happened with that was the $50,000 goal came in 3 days. And I started to have the little superhero cape flutter a little bit, right? It started to, I'm like, oh, wait, there's something to this whole Rotary thing, because the fact is that I threw together a flyer, stuck on my name, my cell phone, and my email address and the Rotary logo, and said, hey, can you help? Be very careful about putting those combinations of things together because the phone and the email started blowing up. 50,000 came in within 3 days. It was magical, but that wasn't where the magic happened. The $1 million wasn't where the magic happened. The countless lives and planting trees. Some of you came up and planted trees with us a couple of years later. And 3,000 trees in a couple hours from that fund. That wasn't even where the magic happened. The magic happened 2 weeks to the day after the fire started. So one of the other hats that I wear in Lakeport Rotary is the ride director for the Canocte Challenge, which is the cycling event up there. And it was to be held 2 weeks to the day after the fire started. Everybody thought we were going to cancel it because, you know, 2/3 of our population was evacuated and, you know, part of our county was on fire. So, but we decided to do it anyway. We had to cancel a route because it was on fire. But we decided to do it anyway because of the fact that the cyclists needed to be there and our residents needed to have them there. So I believe that once you know something about someone's story, it leads to some understanding. And once you have understanding, that leads to acceptance. And once you have acceptance, that leads to trust. And once you have trust, you can do anything, right? So that very first Wednesday after the fire broke out, I made a comment during a Rotary meeting, very first one, and said, you know, we're going to do the ride anyway. And gosh, you know, there's a lot of little kids that lost their bicycles in the fire. Wouldn't it be great if we could get a few of those bicycles replaced? And wouldn't it be great if we could have those kids and those families come to the barbecue after the ride to pick up their bikes? And gosh, wouldn't it even be really great if those little kids' names were on those bicycles? Less than 2 weeks. At this point, it's a week and a half. I made a comment and then I moved on because I was dealing with all the fire relief fund. Well, unbeknownst to me, a flyer got put together with a Rotary logo, Jennifer's name, cell phone, and email address on it. And it was sent out to the world. And then it was also sent out to the communities saying, if you have a child that lost a bicycle, you know, name, gender, and age. And so all these emails started continuing to come in. I'm like, what is going on? So I just kept them in a file. Well, 2 weeks to the day after the fire, Canocte Challenge. I got stuff going on all over the place, cyclists everywhere. This big truck shows up and 250 bicycles start getting unloaded. And they get lined up all along the fence line. And I'm looking at these bicycles and they all have tags on them that have names on them. And so they get lined up. And then the next thing I know, there's 250 brand new helmets that show up and these families start coming. And the cyclists get up and help these kids find their bikes. And I'm so tired, I can hardly stand. Right? So tired, I can hardly stand. And I felt a tug on my leg. And I turned around and I looked down, and there's this little girl standing there. She's probably 4. She's got a pink bike in her hand, a pink helmet on her head, and tears rolling down her face. And she looks up at me and she said, "Are you Miss Strong?" And I knelt down and I said, "Yes, I am." And what she said next, I will never forget. Now, mind you, I joined in 1998. I was a good Rotarian. I did it for business purposes, but I was a good Rotarian. Fast forward to 2015. This little girl said to me, "My family and I are still living in the big house with all the other families, the shelter. The monster took my bike. Can I give you a hug?" And that little girl wrapped her arms around my neck. And of course, I'm crying at this point. And this little girl wrapped her arms around my neck. And it was at that moment, right there, just like what you had. It was at that moment that I realized why. Now, what I also didn't know was that her grandmother snapped a picture of it with her cell phone. Do you want to see it? I'll show it to you. So this little girl's name was Emma. I found out later. She's 4. And that is the moment that I knew why I was in Rotary. The rest of that story that you don't know about me and that my club didn't even know is that before I became president that year, I was getting ready to quit Rotary. I was on the verge of leaving because the time that I was spending wasn't meaningful to me. And then the president dropped out. Nobody else would do it. And I said, "Okay, I'll do it." But I was getting ready to leave. And at that moment is when I knew why. So the question that we have for you guys, when you think about all the moments that you've had in Rotary, the opportunities that you've had that you wouldn't have normally had, had you maybe not been in Rotary, when you think about it, and I think about that little girl, whose life changed more? Hers or mine? And in your stories, whose life changed more? The people that you touched or yourself?
Clearly ourselves. I mean, I knew the concept, yes, we do good. I mean, that's an easy no-brainer, but to actually feel and experience it and know firsthand from somebody who is the beneficiary of these acts of kindness, it's pretty special. And I think you never know. I call it the power of yes. You never know when you say yes to an opportunity in Rotary, what it will lead to for you personally too. I mean, you talk a little bit about why you stay. Clearly it's the fellowship. When you're doing those good works with people you like, know, respect, it's strength in numbers like the Warriors. But yeah, just because I said yes to being president, it led to my fabulous career as an astronomer and wine country star. That never would have happened except for Rotary. And the deep and meaningful friendship. Look how many people Bruce Campbell touched with his Rotary service. I mean, it's the relationships in Rotary are meaningful, Mary, and I can't tell you how excited I am for you to join us and get to experience that first.
And the changes that happen. What about you, Dan? What do you think the answer to that question is?
Well, I think each of the lives gets transformed in that one. It's one of the tying of the knots of the tapestry of kindness that Rotary weaves anytime we have those contacts.
Yeah. You know, it's one of the things that I would encourage everyone in here to do is to reach out to somebody that you haven't seen in a while. Here in the club, pick up the phone and call them. Tell them you miss them. Invite them to come to something. Remind them that the power of Rotary is in the numbers. The power of Rotary is in the story. Share that story. Now, I know that this was not an easy thing. It's never easy when I have to get in front of my own club, which I left them until last, as far as my club visits go. And you have no idea of what to expect. And I just want to thank you for saying yes. And I want to thank you for doing this with me. I do have a little gift for each of you. This is a sun catcher. And it's got the Imagine Rotary logo on it. But what's engraved on it, it says the sun shines not on us, but in us. And I would venture to guess, and I can tell just from hearing your story that the sun definitely shines inside of both of you. And so I would ask that wherever it is you hang that, that every time you look at it, it acts as a reminder of the power of Rotary to change not only the world, but to most importantly, change yourself. So I want to thank you both for coming up here. And I will tell you right now, I know something about your stories. I will do a project or an event or anything with you any day. So thanks for coming up here, you guys. Thank you. All right, so thanks so much for that. I'm going to take that for you. All right, so now you all, I very much enjoy learning about those stories. So now we have a couple of minutes. So this is where it comes into play that you stuck your hand down in a black jar from somebody you didn't really know. You pulled out a teller, which meant that you sat at a table that maybe you don't normally sit at, with people that you haven't sat with for a while. So now what I want you to do is I want you to spend the next few minutes talking to each other. All right, you can do it in groups of 2, you can do it in groups of 3, you can do it however you want. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to tell something about your story, maybe with Rotary, something where, and I know you're new, Mary, but why are you here? Something that has touched you, a specific story as to when Rotary went from your head to your heart. Now, what I'm going to do is after we're done having that conversation, I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to ask for a couple of volunteers. And the volunteers are going to be asked to tell us something that you learned about somebody else and about their story. All right. So go ahead and go have some conversations, talk about Rotary, talk about why, and then I'm going to ask for a couple of volunteers. Go.
So Judy, can I share with you? You're on mute.
Yes.
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is walking in the door into the room, which I can't do anymore. But it was always such a fresh breeze to see everybody. And
then those of you on Zoom,
I got my
talk to each
Rotary
other.
on, and I felt so good.
All right, so talk to each other. I'm going to ask for a volunteer from Zoom.
And the next thing was that when I started doing this lunch SAC program, I really enjoyed it. And it was very fulfilling to do this service for the community in such a kind of a visceral way, to give them a sandwich and stuff, and to go to the effort of shopping and putting all of this stuff together, and then also getting people and agencies together to join with me. That's been just a real blessing in my life. Thanks.
For me, I think of a couple of things. The most significant moment of Rotary that ever happened to me was at, I don't think it was our last Christmas, but one of the Christmas dinners. And it was towards the end, a man who was obviously homeless had come in, had had his dinner, had sat for a while, and at the end, I was at the entry desk, and he looked at a box and he said, "Is that where people leave money?" And I said, "Yeah, it is." And I said, "It's not required." And he said, "Oh, I know that." And he dug into his pocket and pulled out whatever was in there, which was change, and put it in the box. And I remember that moment, probably more than anything that happened in Rotary. The other thing was well, there's many, but I enjoyed the connection during the early days of COVID when I was doing the daily diversions. I enjoyed doing it because every day I'd hear back from about a dozen people, and it was a way of connecting when we no longer connected.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, so I mean, there were many things. I remember making tamales. I remember a lot of things, but obviously the projects where I could feel closer to the people that we tried to help were the ones that had the greatest impact on me.
I think this Zoom is great, and it does have a degree of intimacy, but I wish I was in the room with you now, because I love your energy.
The Zoom is very frustrating to me. I have a hearing problem anyway, and even now, which Michael has made some adjustments, so it's much better. I can only understand about half of what's being said.
Yeah.
So I find that very frustrating.
Yeah, I wish it was better.
So how are you doing?
Well, I'd say for the most part, I'm doing quite well. I do have little ups and moods. My moods go up and down sometimes, and
Yeah.
sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, and there's stuff going on in the world and with my families that are difficult to deal with for them, and so I think I'm a sponge. I take that stuff on. And I wish that they were not in pain or having better health.
I find that it's really necessary for me at least every couple of weeks, sometimes more frequently. I've got to take a news break because it becomes overwhelming and it just drains me.
Yeah.
So I do understand that.
Yeah, you're probably empathic too.
Yeah,
the whole
more than a
thing
bit.
with Russia and the Ukraine, it just tears me up.
It does. Some of the personal stories are heart-rending, and it's not going to get better, at least for a while. I also worry about our future. I had a chat with 3 or 4 friends the other day, and we all agreed that we think in our lifetimes we will no longer be living in a democracy. And that's, I'm glad I was born when I was.
Yeah.
Because I saw the best of us, and now I sometimes feel I'm seeing the worst of us.
Well, I believe in the power of thought and prayer, and every day I'm doing it. So
Yeah.
whatever I can do to make it better, I will.
Yeah. Ditto. Ditto.
Thanks, Judy.
How are you feeling overall?
Bring you guys back.
Good.
My favorite part of doing these programs is trying to get people to come back, which is wonderful. It's fun to sit here and listen to all of the conversations that are going on. So I told you before this wasn't very long. So I would encourage you to do more of this. Sit down and talk about Rotary, whether you're sitting at somebody's house or whether you're at a Rotary meeting, you can talk about it. Share your story. The power is in the story. Because once you tell that story, it keeps it real for you. Telling that story, Dan, I could tell. It keeps it real. Every time I look at that picture, it keeps it real as to the why. So I told you I was going to ask for a couple of volunteers to tell me something that you learned about someone else. And that also applies to the folks on Zoom. So do I have a volunteer that will tell me something that they learned about someone else's Rotary story? And we can't leave until I get a volunteer. John, hold on.
Thank you, Jennifer. Well, the people on the table here wouldn't have known each other had not been for Rotary. We know that. But we learned that Rev Rod, who is a past president, we thought he just all of a sudden got asked by Marty Webb after Mass one day to come down and join Rotary, but we found out that he was Rotarian up in Seattle before this, which I didn't know. Well, he was an attorney and then a priest. I don't know, it's a strange position there. But yeah, I think that was just because it allowed him to become, to know somebody other than Episcopalians. He become more involved with a bigger network in the community. So, and maybe to save our souls.
And y'all bought cars from Joe, all right. You know, it's funny when you think about that, when you travel, there's an app that you can put on your phone, it's called the Rotary Club Locator app. Everybody should have that app, and when you travel and you go to another community, you can walk into a Rotary meeting anywhere and immediately you know people. So when you talk about, you know, moving from Seattle to here, you knew exactly how to get integrated into the community and how to meet people, right? As you just went to a Rotary meeting. That's a good story. So do I have another one? Anybody on Zoom want to share something that they learned about somebody else up there? No, it's okay. It's okay if you don't. Anyone else down there? Hold on.
I learned that Nick was a group study exchange student in Pakistan and experienced, what was the other country?
The Pakistani Rotary, this was just after the Pakistan-India War of 1971 when Bangladesh pulled out. And I was there in 74, and the country had been partitioned back in 47, right? So all the Muslims went one way and all the Hindus went the other way across the border. And this was a fortified border at the time, tanks and troops, et cetera. And because the group study exchange was going through from the district down in the Bay Area, the Rotarians on either side of the border got together and decided to try to meet. And I'm not sure how they worked it out, but we were taken to the border at between Amritsar and Lahore, and the troops on both sides opened the gates, and the Rotarians from both sides who hadn't seen each other and had recently fought a war against each other came together and embraced, and old friends said, you know, for 20 minutes they interacted with the troops just standing around on the outside, and it was a beautiful, moving thing. And I knew at that time that I wanted to be a member of Rotary, even though I couldn't for many years after that. But I felt I became a Rotarian long before I ever could join the club.
Wow. Wow. You know, when you think about it, I mean, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on right there, right? I mean, and when you think about the power of Rotary, you think about the power of Rotary on so many different levels. You know, for you to be able to be there as a GSC team member, right? You weren't in Rotary at that point, and to watch that. I mean, think about the lives that were impacted by that. The guards that opened the gates. They're people, they're humans. The humans that were coming together that hadn't seen each other from years, from different, I mean, that's the power of Rotary right there. And that is where, when you think about that, you know, you may not have told that story for a while. Everyone in this room now knows something about you maybe that they didn't know before. It also bubbles it back up for yourself. Share your stories, share them with each other, because that is where that trust gets developed. Is when you know something about someone, that's where the trust gets developed. That's what keeps people coming back wanting to invest their time. So I want to leave you with one last quote. And it's from past Rotary International President Clem Renaud. And the quote says, "Rotary takes ordinary men and women like me," I added that part, "and presents us with extraordinary opportunities to do more with our lives than we ever dreamed possible." I will contend that that is what Rotary is about. It's what feeds our soul. It's in the story. It's in what we get out of the time that we are spending with it. So I would encourage you guys to remember that. Share those stories. This isn't rocket science. Share the stories with each other. It keeps it real for you. It makes it real for others. And people will want to be a part of that. And that is what will bring people to your family to be a part of that. And that's what we want. right? Pick up the phone, call somebody you haven't seen in a while and say, you know, we miss you. I would love to see you. So with that, I want to thank you guys for trusting me today and for going on this little bit of a journey. Thank you to Dan and Linda, again, Linda and Dan, for coming up with me. Thank you for sharing your story. I would love to know more about that. It's fabulous. And glad when you came here, you joined and thank everybody for being on Zoom that is here. So I need one last thing. I need your resident auctioneer. So we have with me this basket from, where was I last? I was at Petaluma last. So this is a basket that has got, I don't know, all kinds of cool stuff in it, including this little spinny rotary wheel thing here that they make. So what we're doing with the basket, I asked for no gifts. And I have a traveling basket going around the district. We're going to auction that off. Whoever buys it, the money goes to their Paul Harris or to whoever Paul Harris that they want to donate it to. And then I am going to be using my points to match that. Y'all can do that. For those of you that are sitting on points, you can use them to share with others. So I will be matching that. And then of course, once I run out of points, I'm getting a hold of all the past district governors and taking theirs. So, which I'm probably already there. So with that, Joe, it's all you. And you can auction off for whatever you want. And again, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. It was a pleasure. And I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon.
Outstanding job. And the word is probably out that you closed the bar last night too. All right, this is some really cool stuff. There's coffee in here, there's champagne, there's some Lagunitas beer, some local stuff from our friends over in Petaluma. And let's see, there's something like this. Why don't we start the bidding at say $75? 75 bucks. I got 75. Who can give me 85? 85. All right. Who can give me $100? Here we go. What is that? 200? 500. Okay. I got $100. How about a buck and a quarter? Buck and a quarter. Here we go. $1. 150. 150. 150 there. Let's go to 175. 175. 175. 175. 175. 200. 200. 200, 200. We knew we could go to 200. 225. Let's have 225, 225, 225, 200 here, 225, 225, 225, 250, 250, 250. Jim, another $50. What's the difference, right? 250. Here we go. 275, 275, 275. We got 250 here. We got 275. 75. Okay. 275. Let's go to 300. Nice round number, $300. 275 from our president, but that's right. What a deal! $300. Paul Harris, all the good stuff. $300. We got a new bidder. 325. 325. Let's go. We got 300. 325. 325. 350. We're getting some rarefied air here. 350, 350. Dan, no, okay. We got 3 1/4, 350. Jim. Doesn't have the same effect. I know my heels today. 350. We got 325, right? No, you're 325. Thank you. 350. 350, 325 going once, 325 going twice. So, should have had this last night.
We just we're a little over. I hope it's okay with people that they can stay.
No.
Okay. Uh-oh, what's going on here? We do have a drawing. And I'm not sure what's in the pot. It's got to be at least $80, $90 by now. And here it is. Here's my very good. Okay, we'll have our drawing.
Oh, right.
Yeah, right. You gotta have somebody. Yeah.
got the glass.
593.
35. 94.
Oh, man, too.
We're 94.
Get the red marble and you win. And there's fewer marbles in there. Only 5 marbles, get the red one.
Bigger than the round.
Oh, okay, well, here's another chance to win something, thanks a lot. Okay, and Rod, you have a joke for us.
I don't know if this is really funny. It's kind of serious. I got a note from an old classmate and an alert, and I think you all ought to hear this. To help save the economy, he wrote, the US government will announce next month that the Immigration Department will start deporting seniors instead of illegals in order to lower Social Security and Medicare costs. Plus, older people are easier to catch. And will not remember how to get back home. Be sure to send this notice to your relatives and friends so they'll know what happened to you. I started to cry when I thought of you. Then it dawned on me, I'll see you on the bus.
Thank you so much. Okay.